pay-per-view review, and there was supposed to be some snazzy graphics on this, but the guy who I hired to do it, the best he could come up with was, oh, why don't you get a DVD and hold it up? So I didn't pay him, and I thought that was a good idea. So it's his fault. Yes, it is TNA Lockdown. Except it isn't 2007. Don't worry. Sting was nowhere to be seen. Or Steiner. Or Christian Cage for that matter. But, anywho, stick that there. However, you can still see it with my... No, my head is pretty much behind it, so I might go here for most of the review. Bear with me. Kurt Angle stares at me, I want to sleep. Anyway. Yeah, Lockdown happened tonight. Overall, this was actually not a bad show. I'll give you a rundown on the card. We started off with the Lethal Lockdown match, which surprised me when I first saw it, just before the pay-per-view started, on the Twitter and everything. Which, although it was on the last pay-per-view, it wasn't as pushed as it was, probably because they were in Nashville and they couldn't get a TV screen right next to the commentary desk with it behind their back. But anyway, yeah, we started off with Eric versus Gunner. If Garrett won, Eric would leave and renounce his name, whatever that means, and if Eric's team won, Garrett would be gone. It started off actually with Garrett and Gunner, and it was an even match, but it was more Gunner pushing his way through. Then Bully Ray came out because on the last Impact, Eric's team got the man advantage. So basically it was a 2-on-1 thing. Then Austin Aries made his way out. Good showing from him. Then Kazarian, but Kazarian was bald. Well, not bald, but shaved. He's got no long locks anymore. It's buzz cut, and I don't know, it didn't seem right. Then it was kind of 3-on-2 again. Then AJ cleaned house. Then Daniels came out, obviously. Then Eric's team had the advantage. Then Anderson. Then Bischoff. And... well, sorry, Eric Bischoff, should I say. And then Eric was ranting at his son, going, oh, come on. You know, you shouldn't be here, kind of thing. Then RVD came out. So a pretty big pop. Cleaned house. Did his thumbs thing. And then Anderson did the mic check. And then rather than the microphone, it was basically the signal to lower the roof. Roof came down, some good little weapon shots with kendo sticks. Especially there was one bit with Eric smashing a kendo stick over Garrett multiple times, and then, you know, he's got him down and he stands there for about 45 seconds over everybody who was just, you know, laid out kind of thing, and all of a sudden, oh wait, Garrett's got the Jeff Jarrett guitar, bang, smoke dust goes off it. He falls like he's, you know, King Kong off the Empire State Building, so it takes a while. It's like, bah! It wasn't Beauty that killed the beast, it was Garrett. But Garrett pinned Eric, and Eric is apparently gone. He's changing his name. I don't have a clue, but Anyway, then we had tag team title match, Samoa Joe and Magnus versus Motor City Machine Guns. Overall, that was a good match. Very good work between the two teams. It was good to see as well because the crowd were pretty much for both of them, because they were both technically faces in the match, even though Samoa Joe and Magnus are, in between really. But overall, it really came to the fact that Samoa Joe and Magnus's power really just was too much for the speed of the machine guns, and it eventually came with their double team finish, Magnus getting the elbow, getting the pinfall, and Samoa Joe and Magnus attained. But I can see this continuing on further, probably not with Mexican America. Every time Mexican America are involved, they'll probably get beaten up. I don't know, but we'll see. With regards to the first match, Lethal Lockdown, also very good, but the fact is, this is my first impressions from watching it once. I probably need to see it a second or a third time to actually get full clarity of what actually happened in the match, because it was so fast. Because when you've got people coming in every 2 minutes, it's okay. The basic is somebody cleans house until the other guy comes in, and then they get the advantage back, and so on and so forth. And that's a simple way, but overall, very good opening to the show. And then we had the TV title match between Devon and Robbie E. Yeah, this is the first time I think we've seen Devon defend his title since the last pay-per-view. The TV title is only on pay-per-view. Don't know whether I fully get that, but okay. Pretty much this was Robbie E dominating for a minute, then Devon dominating for 2 minutes, hitting his body splash and spine buster, and getting the pinfall. It was only about 3 or 4 minutes, I'd say. And then, of any significance after it, Robbie T, whatever you want to call him, got in the ring, basically put him up on his shoulder and planted him down pretty hard, and that's pretty much it. Then we had the Knockouts match between Gail Kim and Velvet Sky. Very good match for the Knockouts. There was a nice bit, and there was a sunset flip towards the end from Velvet Sky, and Gail Kim didn't get the landing perfect, but it wasn't like, oh dear, this isn't going to be good. Oh dear, I don't think I would have said that if I actually saw it. I'd have been quite ruder, but I'm mellowed out for some reason. Anyway, finish came with really Madison Rayne was distracting Velvet Sky despite the fact she was on the outside of the cage. I don't know. Gail Kim goes for the open door. Velvet Sky stops her and turns it into a roll-up, which then gets reversed into a roll-up by Gail Kim on Velvet, with Gail holding the tights. Gets the 3 count. And still your champion, Gail Kim. Very good match, actually, I will say, from them, compared to the fact we haven't seen a lot from the Divas of any real impressive nature in the past few weeks and months from WWE. Then we have a segment with Ric Flair, which gets a huge pop from the crowd, which is understandable. He's a legend, arguably. He got in the Hall of Fame twice. Not many people can say that. Yeah, only him, but bear with me. Then he says, I'm Ric Flair. You know who I am? I'm a special kind of cat. What? At some point, when he said this, I kind of thought, has he has he like walked out of his like a? He kind of the way he was sounding like somebody from a nursing home who didn't know who they were. You know who I am? Do you? You there in the yellow t-shirt. You know who I am? I don't. Well, you know, that's just my take on it. Then Hogan came out and said, you know, you're the one of the best wrestlers. You're the greatest wrestler that there is. And may I come in the ring? And then, Flair basically says, I've had a problem with you, Hogan, for pretty much all our careers since you came in the business and whatever. And basically threatens Hogan, you've got rid of Bischoff, you're running the company yourself. It's, I don't know, it was Flair just going on a rant on Hogan. And then Hogan said, well, we got a ring, we got a cage, so if you don't like it, you better do something about it right now. And then Flair gets angry. Hogan just punches him with a right hand. Flair goes down. Hogan leaves, and then Flair keeps telling him on the microphone to get back here, and then threatened to beat up Mike TNA. And then that was the end of the segment. Seriously, 2 weeks after, a huge, huge plaudits for him, they use him like that. Which kind of saddens me, mainly because it seems like this is going to be building to some kind of match between the two. Which, considering when it happened last time on the Hulkamania tour of Australia, Hogan won every time. So I think that's going to be replicated. Anyway, let's get to the second half of the matches. And we'll start with Matt Morgan versus the undefeated Crimson. Yes, you heard me right. The undefeated Crimson. That's the caption that's used now. It kind of gives you a hint as to who won. Basically, for the entire match, Crimson was targeting the right knee and the right lower leg of Morgan. And then Crimson and Morgan are both on the top rope, and then Crimson pushes him off. He straddles and crotches himself on the top rope, and then falls back and somehow gets his foot locked up between the middle and bottom rope, his bad foot. Crimson lasts for about 30 seconds, climbs over the cage, gets down, and wins by escape. My problem is this took too long. Kind of similar to with the Eric Bischoff, where it took him about a minute for Garrett or Eric to realise, oh, we got to do the guitar thing, because there was just a bit then when it was clearly building for time. So, not much praise about that. Crimson remains undefeated. Hopefully he won't be the next Goldberg. He probably will be. Anyway. Next, probably match of the night. Hardy versus Angle. Great little set between them. One of the spots midway towards the end was an angle slam from the top rope on Hardy, which was pretty sweet. A few ankle locks, then swanton bombs from both turnbuckles. He did the swanton off one, Kurt Angle rolled to the other one, Hardy got onto the other turnbuckle, swanton the other, and then kicked out. Then there was an angle slam, and Hardy managed to kick out. Then Hardy managed to get an angle slam of his own, and then Hardy goes right to the top of the cage, does a swanton, which amazingly hits, considering how, I think when it happened last year, it wasn't absolutely perfect. and Jeff Hardy gets the win, which was very, very good. Excellent match. You know, my words can't really do it justice. If you can watch it because it was overall damn good. You know, I could do too many superlatives. It's pretty similar to the Triple H Undertaker match. I can't say enough about it, so just watch it. The pay-per-view alone is probably worth it for quite a lot of these matches. Some of them were a bit ho-hum, which was the two I've really talked about, the TV title match and the Crimson match. And there also another one that was ho-hum, but was understandably ho-hum because clearly TNA are trying to take a leaf out of WWE's book and trying to have it so that there's a big match at the start and the end, so they even it out so the crowd isn't blown out. So what they did is they had a match which was technically impromptu because it was only announced during the pre-show, which was 30 minutes before the pay-per-view, which was ODB and Eric Young, or Mr. and Mrs. Eric Young, as it was being described on the graphics, taking on Mexican America's Sarita and Rosita. Basically, this all fueled from Sarita and Rosita trying to tempt Eric Young at the wedding by basically wearing nothing. Then ODB stripped off to basically nothing, which then led to Eric Young stripping to basically nothing, and then forcing the vicar, the person who was hosting the ceremony, in order to get strip off as well. Yes. You know, that makes it sound rubbish, but actually the comedy value in it was pretty good. Better than some of the comedy that there's been, or tried to have been, in recent weeks with Natalia and her farting. Which is kiddie humour, but not humour, to be quite honest. Anyway, the way this match went is Eric Young pretty much did nothing. ODB cleaned house. Finish came when Sarita and Rosita went over to Eric and tried to screw him. Tried to woo him, sorry. Not in Ric Flair, woo, kind of thing. But anyway, ODB got a drink, which, you know, Popeyed her up, as I call her. It's like her spinach or something, I don't know. Then gets the cutter on, tackles Sarita, gets the cutter or whatever she does on Rosita, and got the pinfall. So ODB and Eric Young are still knockout tag team championships. And then there was some weird thing with Eric Young spanking ODB. Don't worry, it wasn't numerous. It was just one spank, which was done like it was a Ric Flair kind of move off the ropes, which was a bit odd. But anyway. We then have a bit with Bobby Roode. This is the only one worth mentioning because Roode basically says, you know, I hate you, Storm, and Storm, I know you hate me. So basically my question about that is, what happened to the Eliminate the Hate campaign? I thought there was supposed to be no hate. Anyway, the TNA World Title match between Roode and Storm was a very good match. Mainly because for the first 5 or 6 minutes of it, it wasn't even officially a match. Because they were outside, beating the crap out of each other around the cage at ringside. Eventually it went inside, and both guys got cut open pretty bad. Well, not pretty bad, but certainly there was blood on both of the guys' faces. Some great little spots from all of them. It was kind of a code breaker that Storm did off the top rope on Roode, which was good towards the end. Then Storm went for the last call, but hit the referee, so there's the obligatory ref bump. Then the door opens as basically Storm is down, exhausted, because this was a match that went on for about nearly 20 minutes. Uh, then Rude, rather than try and make it out and win, asked for a beer bottle. Took it, smashed Storm in the head with it. Earl Hebner went in because Brian Hebner got knocked out. I blame his red-soled shoes. I still don't get that, Brian, to be honest. 2 count from Earl. Then, trying to think. Storm got a last call, which then managed to move or hit Rude, so he rolled towards the ropes close to the door with Earl Hebner still in the ring. Then Storm hit another last call, which hit Rude, but then sent him through the steel cage door and slammed on his back to the outside, and Bobby Roode somehow manages to win. So that's it. Bobby Roode retains, and then James Storm grabs the belt, just puts it on Roode, who still hasn't. He's still lying down on the floor, and James went into the crowd because he entered actually in a pickup truck, which you see at the start of the whole show thing. He says, "Well, welcome to Nashville, my hometown." And then he drives in with a pickup truck, which was a nice little spot, but it wasn't really worth mentioning in the context of the match. Then he seems to be hugging his family and friends as the show goes off the air, and as one report I've seen has said, after the pay-per-view, they actually apparently had to take Roode out on a stretcher, so whether that's real injuries or just in storyline terms, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see to Impact over the next few weeks. Overall, I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10. It was a very good show. It's one of Lockdown's, I guess we have to say, big 3, because other than Lockdown, Slammiversary and Bound for Glory, I don't think they've really got any others ones. If you beg to differ, if you think if WWE can have a big 4, which one of the TNA pay-per-views would you classify as the 4th one? If the 3 that I see as the big ones are Bound for Glory in October, Lockdown in April, and Slammiversary in June. Because I know they use the big 4 in WWE, but is there a big 4 in TNA, or is it more of a, as I say, big 3? I'll get your thoughts on that. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I can see the purpose of the structure isn't where it loses marks. It basically loses 1 mark each to not get the perfect 10 because of the Devon and Robbie E match being pretty poor, and the Crimson and Matt Morgan match being built up quite a bit over the last couple of months due to the fractious relationship of the tag team, and basically coming to nothing as well. So for that 8 out of 10, positive side, good tag team match, comedic knockouts tag team match, even though it wasn't brilliant. But then I guess because he didn't get involved, it actually was another knockouts match, although it was a 2-on-1 handicap, which the 1 won. So look into that what you will. Lethal Lockdown actually wasn't that bad, even though it was very hectic and everything going on. Angle Hardy could possibly be a contender for best TNA match of the year, which might be saying something, might not. It depends how the rest of the year flow goes, but I'd certainly put it up there as being one of the top 5 at least when it comes to the end of the year. So overall, my thoughts 8 out of 10. But what did you think? What did you like about the pay-per-view? What did you dislike? Do you agree that the matches that I disagreed with or the matches I agreed with? What were your favourites? What did you absolutely hate? give me your overall thoughts as well on the comments below, or video response, or whatever you want to do. And with that, this has been another pay-per-view review from Ashley, and to be quite honest, in my mellow mood, I think I need to chill out a bit more. I think I found a perfect opportunity to say hello to my little DVD.